supposed to be betting.
Guys, let's look at multi-way hands. All right. Go ahead, Skate.
Yeah. What do you think is the overall the most okay? Checking from low jack is going to be a lot of suited 9x, some suited 10x, and some suited jack x, queen x, and sevens through tens. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, pretty much the middle of their range, right? All the
Yep.
pairs under ace, particularly under the queen.
Okay. Yeah. True. True. The middle pair and under pairs to the board.
Yeah. And then when they do bet, then the in position player, here's their defense. Did he bet? No, let's make this bet here. And here's the in position defense. So before we get too convoluted, let's look at all of these different flops.
Did we figure out a way to show the raise sizes in big blinds as opposed to percentage? If
Uh-huh.
you scroll down,
Yep, it's
yeah,
right here.
there.
Yep.
Do you mind doing that? What?
Yeah, we can look at that. I know I prefer looking at percentage just because, I mean, I guess it does. I guess you can figure either way.
Okay. Well, you're
I
kind of
like
the boss.
percentage. Yeah, that's fine. We can look at big blinds. I prefer percentage just because I know that when I look at GTO Wizard and I'm studying those, I go by percentage there too.
I'll go. You're the captain now. Percentage is fine.
Yeah, no, okay. Um, and one difference too is that they use, this B25 and they use the B66. Whereas Wizards using B33s and B75s
Mm.
and B125s. So
That kind of makes sense when we know that bet sizes are reduced multi-way.
yeah, yep.
Okay, so 70% here of so you calculate. Okay, so it's pretty nice. So you calculate 70% of the pot, and that's how you get your answer.
Well, so this is a frequency. The one on the left is, or the one on the right is frequency,
Oh, okay.
and this is your bet size, the one that you see here.
Okay, okay. So 25% of seven, roughly seven BBs,
Yep.
which is gonna be about a little bit less than one big blind.
Yeah, a little bit more than one big blind.
I'm sorry, a little bit less than two big blinds is what I meant to say.
Yeah, I'll keep it on big blinds if you two both of you like that. I'll keep it there.
No, no, it's whatever. I mean, I don't mind either way. Just want to know that I'm doing the math right.
So to
I'm
look at
curious what our check raises are here. Can we look at that real quick?
sure, check raises from the big blind.
Check raises from the low jack when button bets.
Okay, so we get this flop. Well, let's do this. I was thinking if we look at all the different flop types and see what our initial strategy is,
Yeah,
and
sure, that makes sense.
then we can go back and kind of see the different nodes.
So tell us about the flop textures that you have
Yeah,
chosen
so
to pull
here's
up.
the different textures that we can look at. So starting with two high cards,
So
and
rainbow two high low, right?
yeah, we have two high cards and a disconnected low card. And then we're going to look at a king high disconnected flop.
All right, so
Like,
this is as dry as it gets.
yep. And then we can look at see if there's much of a difference with an ace high connected flop.
Okay.
And I'm moving this up here so we can see the global frequency bar down here.
Okay.
Okay. And then the next flop we can look at is a low connected flop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And again, I'm moving it up so we can see this.
Yeah.
This gives us a good gauge of
Yeah.
global frequencies. And then the last flop or this next flop is a low, somewhat disconnected,
Okay.
like three low cards disconnected. And then the final flop is like an ace low low type flop.
Ace low low two tone.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great
Okay.
idea, man.
So starting with this two broadways, which we know is usually good for the pre-flop raiser. We see the big blinds checking range, which we expect to see. We see that even in a heads up type flop. When they check, here is our C betting frequency 70% of the time, which is pretty similar to what we get when we get a heads up type flop. And
Yeah,
then
agreed. Agreed.
I'll
Now
just go
I
to
got a question for you, Mike
uh
and Jack and Skate. So we know that generally Button's range is going to be significantly wider than what we see in Solver. So multi-way, we have a very high bet frequency here, but multi-way, do you think we bet even more often when we see a wider range multi-way from Button and Big Blind here?
In my opinion, I think you can determine that based on what you think of button. If they are going to stab too much, which
Yeah.
we tend to see, right? If we tend to see players bet more frequently than they should, because they don't protect checking ranges. If they
Agreed.
have
Yeah.
something that they want to protect, they almost always bet it.
Can
And I
you
think that if they stab too often, I think we change our strategy to we check maybe more often. And when they're passive, maybe we should c bet more often.
can
Got
you
it.
can you repeat real briefly? Because I was looking at my notes to see if I could help.
The question was kind of how would we change our strategy that what we're seeing here on the screen right now on our c bet strategy when we're the original raiser, when there's a player in position.
Uh,
Um, if we should bet more often based on population tendencies and the players that we see. And I was thinking, I don't know if this is right, but I think it maybe depends on the player type and if they stab too often, if they bet more frequently than they should, then maybe we should check a little bit more often than what we see on the screen here.
And also, if
Or
they're very linear in there, I mean, what you're saying is essentially Button is more linear in their betting, right? They have less bluffs. They're very value oriented when they do bet, which also drives us towards checking more.
yeah, and I don't know, do you think they stab even like do they stab too much even with their bluffs?
I think it's very player dependent. I think you're right about that. I think we have to know who we're playing against. I mean, on Ignition, it's different, right? It's theory. We're playing closer to theory. So at theory, if they're going to have a wider range, we should be betting more.
Mm-hmm. I agree. You're right. If their range consists of too many weak hands, we should be betting more even with our bluffs.
However, if humans are going to be linear and very face up with their betting, then I think we check more, especially if we think humans are going to have sizing tells. And
Mhm.
and we can go back. Also, there's other thing I wanted to mention. If we want to later, I've been watching a couple Goon videos and on behind the wall at paywall at Crush Life Poker, and I took some notes about what his approach is to multi-way. And he essentially, like he does with a lot of stuff, he has derived a formula. And so if we want to look at that later, we can, which is it's easier to digest, but that doesn't mean it's better, right? I mean, I'm always very concerned and very hesitant that they're just producing content which allows them to um, hand over a structure that people can work with that is workable because it's easier to understand, and that doesn't necessarily make it easier than seeing what Solver's doing.
Yeah.
If we want to look
And
at that later, we can.
you bet. And I'm just guessing based on what I've seen from Goon in the past is that he likes to kind of strategize he likes to form his strategy around how they typically will telegraph their hands. So they'll bet small with their weak and um, they'll bet big with their good hands and small and medium with their weak hands.
Yeah, he also has a formula. Part of it's around how many people are in position versus how many people are out of position.
Hmm.
But yeah, he does a lot of checking. He does put some part of his range into a C betting, but he's going to reduce that frequency depending on how many people he's out of position to.
yeah, Mark Goon is very good. I mean, he comes from the Crush Light Poker streets, but He's more of a live player. I prefer. I'm starting to watch Personal Poker Trainer, if you want to look him up, and also Chai Poker Academy.
Yeah, man,
He's
I'll
pretty
check it
good.
out.
Yep.
Put some links in the chat, yo.
Yeah, I'll do that. Do that soon. I was thinking about what you said earlier about. So this is my intuition. So multi-way, I feel like the guy in position, especially Button, will telegraph his hand strength maybe a little bit more. I don't know if this is relevant. Multi-way, when there's more chance of being sucked out on, so to speak, versus heads up. Heads up, I feel like they would slow play more of their strong hands, i.e. sets, sixes. Uh, and here, multi-way, I feel like they're more prone to fast play them.
I agree.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep.
So here's this flop, and then we'll just have him check. Just or let's take the most common line. We'll have him bet and see. Just we'll see where we should be defending on the button.
What's interesting here is, in theory, we've got more raises than flats.
Well, there's 13%, so 20% raising and 46% flats.
Oh, I'm misreading. Sorry, I was misreading. You're right.
Um, but yeah, but notice that there's a lot of big sizes here when the original raiser checks on a flop that's good for him.
Yeah.
So next flop is another flop that's good for the pre-flop raiser. Big blind should
So
be
I think
checking.
this should be like, I'm imagining we're going to see a lot of betting here. So we saw 70% on that texture, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
All right, let's see what happens.
So big blind checks range as expected. And 60-40.
I'm already confused. Yeah, I mean, this is super dry, right? There's no draws available, really. There's backdoors, but there's really no draws. And king high flop, we know from GTO Wizard, is high frequency bet, right?
Uh-huh.
Out of position. But then we are not seeing that here. We're seeing something different.
Well, it's still 60-40. Not like it's low frequency.
Yeah, but I wonder why this is a higher bet frequency. This is a lower bet frequency than ace queen. I don't know, man.
I think it's because of the button and the big blind defense range. I mean, when you're talking two broadways,
Yeah,
that in position earlier in position, I mean, that's much better for them than even this just king high dry. Because when they do take this line here, the most frequent line, look at how much they're defending. They're not raising, but they're still defending a lot of hands.
you know,
Whereas on the previous flop, I think we saw a lot more folding. Did we not?
did. Hold on, I gotta work on something. I'll be right back, guys. So sorry.
So anyway, so that's that king high flop texture. Let's see if there's much of a difference with an ace high flop texture. Here's an ace high flop texture. Big blind checking as expected. And a lot more checking from the in position raiser. And we're down to 35% c betting as opposed to that king high flop. Exact same flop, it's just an ace instead of a king. And we know that. We've seen that in the past, even in heads up type flops, because the button and the big blind both get to defend the pre-flop raise with more a lot more aces. So we have to check here a lot. And when we do check, here's the button defense. We're betting half the time and using a big size, a good percentage of that time. Okay, now we'll get into this type of flop where we start to see connected and low. Now we get to see some donking starting from the big blind, which we see heads up.
Let's predict
Not,
what low jack is going to do here. My prediction is that we are checking range.
I believe that is the case. I believe it is very close to checking range. And one thing too, in heads up, if this were a heads up flop, low jack versus big blind, this donking frequency would be much higher.
Yeah.
But we do see multi-way. We're still getting a 10% frequency on this in this donking strategy. I don't know that our opponents are doing this very often, or certainly at a frequency that would be considered wise. I think our weak opponents maybe donk some hands too much, and um, either that or just check range, so to speak. So when they check, here's yeah, that's basically a checking range, Larry, right?
Yeah.
So that's quite a difference now we're seeing from those previous flops. And when they check, let's see what our button strategy does here. Now they are almost,
But he YOLOs it multi-way. He doesn't care.
yeah, 56. He's 60% of the time he's betting.
And what does he
65%.
have? Like he's got like probably like 12% of hands here that he flats. Yeah, this is interesting, right? I mean, this is he's just attacking this board. When arguably in theory, maybe this is more big blinds board. I'd love to look at three-way equity comparison, but
So we get to this part of the tree. We'll take the most frequent action. So when they bet, here's what should come around to us. Um, why can't we display this?
boo, boo Prometheus. What if you go back and try again? Just like go back to the, okay, now if we check,
Yeah, this board sucks for the PFR.
and he bets. Nope,
Can't display. Let's
it's
do a full.
unsolvable.
Let's just fully reset it.
Cancel your sub.
Let's predict if big blind is going to have a robust check raising range here. And my guess would be yes, because I think big blind has, in theory, nut advantage.
There we go.
No, we don't. So no
Yeah,
one gets to
and
claim a nut advantage multi-way here, I guess, what they're saying.
maybe the button is the closest to that because of the amount of the frequency and even some of the larger bet sizing.
Yeah, but he does. I mean, so what we know from GTA Wizard is that when you can look at the ranges and see, like, who's got the most sets, who's got the most two pairs, and who's got the most straights right here. Well, according to these ranges, that falls into the world of the big blind, right? I guess button has as many, well, no, it doesn't even have as many sets because it's not flatting 5, 6, 7 full frequency, right? So I'm surprised actually that we don't see a robust check raising range from the big blind when they ostensibly have a nut advantage here, right? So let's see. So they don't have the wrap, but they've got lots of two pair, and they got lots of straights, and they have sets, but maybe they also don't have sets as much.
It's
I
gotta
don't know.
be it's gotta be because multi-way out of position and the button is there. If the button wasn't there, I believe.
Yeah, it might be just because of positional awareness here, multi-way. You're check raising into an uncapped range, right? Low jack's uncapped because he's checking frequency. And then you're betting into someone who just actually made an aggressive action. Maybe that's it.
So when they take their most frequent thing here is back to the original razor.
Look at his overpairs. His overpairs are scared of this flop, right? We're not seeing a lot of check raising from 10 plus. 8, 9, blocking nuts though. that likes to go a little crazy.
8-9 is the nuts, right?
I mean, nines and eights.
Okay, yeah.
Nines, pairs of nines, pairs of eights are, they like blocking the straight. 9-8 is check raising pure. Sets are check raising pure, except the bottom set. Wiggle me that. Yeah, this is, I mean, the one thing I'm taking away from this is that on this texture, and tell me if you guys think I'm off base. On this texture, in theory, our overpairs are playing cautiously.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would.
Can we compare this to like one of the previous flops? Like, did we already go over the king high flop?
Uh-huh.
Or is that
Yeah.
later?
You
Can we
want to go look at
compare,
look at
can we look and see how much our our aces are check raising on this flop? When we see
okay.
the same action on flop?
All right.
I got a whole bunch of notes on some spots if you wanna me to post them or whatever.
Yeah, sure, man. Thank you.
So if we go check, check, and we're checking a range that we would be betting a lot now. So that's different.
Yeah, good point. That's gonna change a lot.
And now we'll bet from the in position player, which, they're going to bet quite frequently. We'll use this smaller size, which is the most frequent size. So the big blind comes back to the big blind, and they're still folding quite a bit.
Yeah, they should fold a lot on this
Yeah,
texture, I
they
think.
just have a ton of trash, a ton of no equity stuff here. So do you want to fold or call here?
Well, the previous solve we called, right?
Uh-huh.
Let's do that. Now let's see what he does with aces relative on this texture. So now this is, yeah. So now we see aces are going to check raise pure on this texture where draws, there are no draws. It's very dry and there's no nut advantage residing with big blind. That's my theory at least, and I'm going to stick with it
Mhm.
because I don't know any better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
makes
think
makes sense.
yeah, I think what's happening on that other texture is that we're wary and defensive because I still think big blind has nut advantage on this texture.
Yeah, absolutely. A nut and a range advantage.
Yeah, yeah. Which is important, right? That's a good lesson. I mean, I think we can relate that to human beings. Yeah, I think that holds in the real world.
Now, when we see this flop texture, which is a low disconnected, so now there's no straight possible here, and it's still two-tone, but we still get a little less donking. There's no straights available,
Yeah.
so we'll check.
Yeah. And we're still, yeah, this is still a check range board. That makes sense. And he still gets to stab high freak.
High frequency betting,
Very small.
70% of the time. I'm gonna have to reset this one. I had this set up from earlier, so my computer has since
Yeah.
gone to sleep, so I'm wondering if the cache gets wiped out or something. It was a 7-4 deuce, I think. 7-4 deuce type flop. And it went check, check, bet. Now the big blind.
Hardly any raising range, but it's calling a lot. So it's gonna call, like, okay, so it calls, and then just because we've been looking at the overpairs, a little bit more check raising, but not quite as much.
Because there's no straight possibilities.
Yeah, there's no straight possibilities, but there are lots of draws and stuff that fit within big blinds range. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah. But there's no locked in equity at this point. Well, there's no luck equity and there's the flush draw. Yeah, so that makes so we can kind of see a little bit of a heuristic there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's just looking at one portion of the range. I mean, Jack knows I only play aces, kings, and queens, so this is a very important part of the range to me.
And here's our last board, this ace low low board, this wheel board. The big blind gets to dunk a little bit, but still checking majority of the time here on a board that would get more donking if it were a heads up type board. Here's our in position, still
Can
checking
you
an
roll over
awful lot.
the? So I'm guessing what we're betting pure with our top pair combo draw. Can you roll over some of the suited ace X and also the back doors probably? No, we don't care that much. Doesn't matter. And we can't have the back door anyway. So yeah, so it doesn't care.
Yeah, the ace of club has a lot more in
Okay,
there.
there it is on the offsuit combos.
All right, so we'll take our most frequent line here. We'll check that. Here's the button. Okay, let's give them a bet just to see now their bet size is more frequent on the large size. So we'll kind of stray here and go large. Big blind defense concentrated all around here. We'll fold and see the original razor defense. There's no check raising to the large size.
Except for the fours, the magical fours, unblocking the ace.
Yeah.
Give them the small size. And again, still not a whole lot of check raising. Deuces, fours.
So this is when, so the big blind got out of the way here. Big blind folded.
Yes.
We're responding to a small bet. And we just don't check raise this texture. Interesting.
If we get a flat from the big blind, now we see a little bit more raising.
Now riddle me that. Is it dead money? Is it
He's
uh
capped, maybe.
he's capped? Yeah, maybe equity denial plays into this, right?
Oh, there's
Maybe
another
you got-
reason. There's another reason. Think about it in real life. So it goes check, check, stab, and you've got a decent hand, right? Check, check,
Uh-huh.
stab, bet, and you call. The next street, unless he's really strong, is going to go check, check, check. That's what's going to happen, right? He's not going to bluff twice into two people.
Okay.
So you protect your check call range heavily in heads up because he may bet again. But against two players, he's going to check through so much. So any hand
So
that
you're
you don't
motivated to
want
put
check
money
through.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a really good point. I can
yeah,
see that.
because we see that all the time.
Agreed. Yeah. If he stabs and he gets two calls, he's going to shut down his low
Right.
equity bluffs.
Right.
Whereas if it's heads up on turn, he is more likely to put money in for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. That's a good point.
Okay. So with all that in mind, we can look at some situations here.
Can I
And
hijack for a couple minutes
of course,
since you're transitioning? Because I really do want to know what you guys think of this this I guess you could call it structure or you can call it flow chart that Mark Kuhn came up with. And this might be a good time to do it when we're transitioning between two parts of the study session. Is that all right?
mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks, man. I'm gonna ask you if can you stop sharing and I'll share?
Yeah.
So my big point is that, well, what I've taken away from this is that we are looking at a lot of solves, and heuristics aren't presenting themselves as often as we see when we're looking at GTA Wizard Heads Up. And that maybe just because we've only looked at like probably 2% of multi-way solves relative to what we've looked at with GTA Wizard, which is months and months of. So this is appealing because to me it's a structure, but I don't know if it's necessarily a better solution. And so that's why I'm asking you guys, because I want to kind of sanity check this with you guys and see what you think, right? So I'll let you guys read this instead of me trying to read it out loud. But
All right, I'll read it out loud for the group. Okay,
sure, go
so
ahead, man.
Thank you.
as a pre-flop raiser, question one: as a pre-flop raiser, is this flop likely to be stabbed? If yes, check pure. If no, then classic goon. I bet my good shit and check my bad shit. Likely to stab. If we are out of position to more players than we are in position, the flop is more likely to be stabbed. Point two, the wetter the flop, the more likely we are to see a stab. Bet from villains. I'm guessing monotone flops. Okay, if we are in ultimate in position, multi-way, bet your good stuff and check your bad stuff. Sounds reasonable. Next, he is checking more on a flop that is likely to get stabbed because players are more likely to make a mistake in position when they are checked to.
And these are his reasons.
Okay, let me read. Okay. One, they stab too much for protection. Two, they telegraph their hand strength with their sizing. And three, they don't protect their checking range and trap check often. Yes, true. Here are the three hand classes he bets when the flop falls into the category of being unlikely to get stabbed, and he is not massively out of position against multiple flatters. There's a typo in that first line. Number one, value, top pair with good kicker and better. Two, nutted draws, even hands with the gutter. Three, hands that block the nuts or block the future nuts. If we check when out of position, he follows the Jonathan Jaffe rule. By checking, we get to see all of the action behind us and get indicators by betting patterns as to the relative strength of our hand.
So I have a question about this. When you do the classic goon, I bet my good shit and check my bad shit. That's his classic goon multi-way, right? Because heads up, his classic goon is I bet half pot the size that they call with their weak shit and raise with their strong shit. So this
Yeah,
is
I
his,
guess it's a slight modification.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So I'm just checking. Is that you? Is that your statement, or is that goon statement multi-way? I think it's a good idea. I just
Yeah,
wonder if that's his.
well, let me make sure I want to answer your question correctly. So as the PFR is okay, yeah. So he's saying this is related to what he's saying before about flop texture. So if the flop texture allows for him to bet, he's very linear, right? So he's saying,
and this is only multi-way. He's multi-way. He's linear, right?
Yeah, this is multi-way.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, then I'm on board with this. Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense. I think this is a good simplification, and we should see if we apply this, if it still takes us down sort of major GTO paths, keeps us around there. And if it varies, we look at it and we go, which do we think we should do against population? But
Yeah.
I think this is a really good question to ask ourselves, and then see how close it is to GTO in the next piece of study.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Yeah, I think what he's doing here is just coming up with a structure and something that is digestible.
Yep.
The big part to take away from this for me is around how he's varying his frequency of betting as the PFR, depending on texture. I don't think he finds himself flatting behind too often. I think he's going to 3-bet a lot. So but I do think, as we all do, we get situations where we're playing out of position as the pre-flop raiser, and then this gives us kind of a way to look at it. So I'll put this I'll put this into chat, but it doesn't like it because it's too big.
And then the other thing we'll find ourselves in that the solver won't help us with at all is being massively out of position to two or more players, because this solver doesn't have any of those situations, and we know that situation comes up all the time.
It does, especially live. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, his yeah, and so one formula that he's worked out is that once you get to the point where you have more people that you're out of position to, as opposed to in position to, he's going to high freak check,
Yep. I think that's good.
regardless of hand strength.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, that's good. And I'll keep this handy for us so we can look at it as we go through these hands.
Yeah.
So we got Mike, I got Scotty, I got Larry, and I got Jack, and I got Skate. So Scotty,
You're going to lose me.
these are all going to be low jack raises, an imposition call, and
Gotcha.
a big blind defense, or at least a blind defense, and we can
Gotcha.
determine. So if you want to take this first one,
I'll take the first
let me
one.
get this. Let me get one that doesn't have a poster though, because that.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. All right. So King Jack, 1, 2, 3. King Jack is a good open here. And we'll see if he does it. If he does it, Ace King should 3-bet, but he's not going to. We know that from the game. So he calls.
Okay, let's take. I'm gonna go to the next hand because this one doesn't apply.
Yep, because we have the multiple flouters. Okay, here we go. Pocket eights, easy open. Pocket the ace 10, easy call. It's a better 3-bet than a call. It's a better 3-bet than a call, I think, and it's a better fold than a call. But it's going to have some frequency of call. He calls. The king queen can squeeze and can also call. He calls. Here we go. So the eights are out of position to one player. So in Mark Goonland, he's right on the cusp of whether he wants to bet this or not. Queen king on this is going to check, and this is not a board where king queen needs to check range. So in the solver, king queen will have some bets here, but not with king queen. So this is a really good check. Pocket eights, very happy to bet this. Very happy to bet this with the ace of diamonds. And the bet size in our solve is going to be 2 big blinds into this. This is a 6 big blind pot or an 8? I got to see it because I'm on that small. 8. Yeah, this is a really nice 2 big blinds. And if you go anywhere from 2 to 2.5 to 3, I'm fine. You don't need to go bigger than that. You check. That's going to be within there too. And for ace 10 to stab this seems like he needs a diamond to stab. He should let this go.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
He'd like to see another card.
All right. King queen still should be in checking mode. He's here with a lot of hands that don't. When he bets, the eights are going to never fold. And do they want to raise? No, they don't want to raise. Just call. Yep. Ace 10 needs to get out of there. Good. And the river. This is nut changing for the big blind. This is good for the eights because you would have checked your strong aces and maybe called once, especially with a flush draw. I don't think this is a great continue. And if he continues, depending on size, you need to call, and horribly. So he checks, and you have no reason to bet this for value.
Well played, hero.
Okay. All right. So this offers some good some good stuff.
Yep.
I'm going to slide this screen over just so I can get the information right when we get in here. Here we go. Let's do a new, whoops. Let's do.
So I think this is going to be a range check.
From the big blind?
Yeah, I think the
a-
big blind's going to get a few bets in this.
Yeah, I think he's going to get. Yeah, I think big blind's going to get some donks, but I think the PFR raiser is going to range check this text.
That range check.
Yeah.
That guy, yeah. Let's see. Yep.
Okay, so a
little bit
bit
of donks.
5%.
Yeah, not
I thought
very
it might
high.
be up there. I thought it might be up into the closer to 9, 10, but we got the check.
While we're
Here's
looking at
our
these, let's
eight.
keep an eye on if we have locked up equity. I think
Yeah.
that's going to allow for the donks.
Yep.
No
Okay.
locked up equity on this board. This is a very well checked board, but eights are the one of the hands. Eights and nines are hands that really like to bet on it.
Yeah. And notice that it just gets a little bit less as you go up, right?
Yeah, tiny reverse linear. Yeah.
You see that? Okay. So we do check the eights, and we get to the. What's our guess on the button here?
So what we've seen over and over again is that the in-position player, in my opinion, leverages his positional advantage and is betting often. And I think we saw that across all textures, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
So I think
This
we're
is-
going to see high freak small bet because my guess is what's happening is here he's leveraging his positional advantage.
And he's going to bet a lot of his eights, nines, a lot of his eights, nines, tens. I don't know if he's going to bet his fives, pocket fives. I'm talking about pocket fives here. And his pocket sevens is great. His pocket eights might check behind. Let's see. That's
All
what
right. I'm going to set the line at global frequency betting from the button at 50%. We won't worry about sizes yet, but
Right.
what do you think? Over, under 50% betting?
Just
$10 over.
Just under.
All right.
Here we go.
Good. We split it. Skate, where are you at?
I am sitting in my computer trying to study, but texting my landlord. He's texting me for some reason.
Okay, I'll let you go.
No, but I'm done. I'm done.
How about Jack? Do you have an opinion on over, under 50% frequency?
I do not have an opinion.
All right, so let's see. So
I'm going to say 45% bets. All right. What is it?
we're way up into the 70% range.
Huge, huge.
And I wanted to also, before I click that, I did want to say, I bet we're going to see a lot of big sizing too.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, so why the big sizing, you think? Why do we have more big bets than we had seen earlier?
Board is super
Well,
wet.
this
no
is what
longer
we
bet.
saw though. We did see this. We saw big bets coming from
Okay.
in position when it gets checked to them. It kind of split it up pretty heavily. In fact, one of those flops, I think it was the connected one, it was actually more, the frequency was higher onto the bigger bet size.
When you
So-
say connected, you mean with a straight available or with lots of straight draws available? Which definition of connected?
I think it was with the straight available. This
Ooh,
one,
that's surprising.
I think I could be wrong.
Here's a 5, 6, 7.
I want to, let's see, I want to go back. So we got to go back one to the button. So it wasn't that
There's
one.
a
It must have been the
60,
other one.
70% bet frequency.
Yeah. No, it's not a lot of big bets on this one.
And it wasn't this one either. Oh, okay. No, it was right. It was one of
Was
these.
it rainbow?
It was one. Here it is.
Oh,
This is
ace.
the one.
Yeah.
The ace high disconnected.
Ace high disconnected. Right.
So this is, yeah. So do you guys think I'm right that this is just leveraging positional advantage? That's because
Yeah.
we're seeing this across all different flop
Mhm.
textures.
Yeah. It's good to be in position, even multi-way.
Positional and range advantage.
But then if it's range advantage, why are we seeing it across all different flop textures? Right?
Because we have so much less junk than they do. Because
We're condensed, yeah.
right, we don't have aces and kings, but we also don't have any garbage.
Okay. All right, I'll buy it.
Yeah. By the way,
Yeah.
how many? So, button and GTO land is flatting some portion of the time. Queen's preflop. Is that actually happening in your games?
Against very early position sometimes. Well, live,
Yeah.
it's totally
Yeah,
player
not a lot.
dependent.
But yeah, it happens.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. In the actual
A lot.
hand, the button had ace 10 off, which is not in range.
Yep.
I know, Scotty, when you were talking pre-flop and you were saying ace 10 was a perfectly good call there,
Then I
I
changed
would've
my
like-
mind. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought about it. I didn't say it was never calling, but I thought about it and went, wait a minute, this is a better 3-bet and a better fold than it is a call. And the answer is, it is so much better that you can't call it. I think that's good. Thank you.
So it went check. It checked through.
Right. And he would check his ace. He would check his ace jack there, right? Yeah.
I missed it. I didn't look.
Yeah, well,
So did big blind then attack on turn? He attacked on turn,
Yep.
mhm.
which kind of makes sense because I think this four.
Yes, I agree.
Although I don't think his hand wants to do it.
But the hand itself, let's see. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I would be surprised to see that in any high frequency from that hand.
Well, if it's across his range. All right, so here is he should be attacking, but with a smaller size most of the time. King Queen is not one of those hands.
Hmm.
With a diamond, okay, which he had.
Yeah, he had the queen of diamonds. He had the one. He had the. I don't know if he had the queen, king of spades, but he had the one. He did have queen of diamonds, I think.
Yeah, he had the queen of diamonds. He had the king of clubs.
Yeah.
All right, so he did go. He went and he bet big. So we're gonna.
Yeah.
Now here's our eights, and Scotty, you are absolutely right. We never fold the eights,
Mhm.
and there's even a little bit of raising,
Yep.
which you had commented on.
Are we folding any overpairs? So we're not folding overpairs. We're not folding flush draws. What about like, let me see.
And we raise the one. This makes sense. Well, the one that we raise is the one without a spade or a diamond. It's the one that least likely wants to see another card come. The other's a little more protected.
Hmm.
So spade diamond. I said no. It's club heart.
Well, we can get calls, right?
Oh, I meant the one that isn't spade diamond. Right? Isn't club heart isn't spade diamond? Yes.
Yeah, it wants calls from flush draws.
No, I wouldn't put it that way. What I'd put it a different way,
Mhm.
which is you don't know whether you having the eight of diamonds and the eight or the eight of clubs blocks some flush draws. Yeah, okay, but you can't hit a set when someone else hits a flush with those hands as much.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I see your
and
point here.
so you're just not as afraid. You're not as afraid of calling and let another card come off. The one combo of eights that just hates on every other card. That every card that comes as bad is eight of hearts, eight of clubs. So
Yeah.
it bets the most.
Okay.
Doesn't do it pure. It's not so bad. It's not like you're afraid of it, but that's the one that does it, and that makes sense to me.
Okay.
And then the spade diamond does it second. Is the blocking thing is your blocking argument. So it both come in a little bit, and then the ones that have no argument don't go there. But I would simplify this to go heart. That the club heart can bet, and all the other ones check.
So I can't really imagine slow playing top set here. Or no, it's not. It's top pair. It's the lowest overpair with the redraw. Never mind. What are we doing with our sets?
Raise the sevens, flat the sixes, flat the fours. That's surprising.
Yeah, so I don't understand this.
Yeah, that's surprising.
You still have the button to act.
Can you look at what we can look at what equity is, right? Is there a way to look at equity?
Oh, it's the opposite of the. It's the opposite of our usual thing about blocking continues because someone else's bet. You only want you don't want to knock out the seven from the third player. You're not going to knock out the seven from the first player. So when you have the sevens, the third player has so many fewer sevens, they're just going to fold anyway. So let's get value from whatever the initial stabber thinks is value. But when you've got the lower ones, the initial guy could have an overpair, which you don't have beat, which you have crushed, but the other guy could have a seven, and it's easy for him to fold a seven to a bet and a raise. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe I can see that.
Yeah.
Here's where we can see EV. We have to select the hand, Larry, and then we
Oh,
can
okay.
look at EV.
And then you can look at okay, thanks. So this one, so for instance, our fours here, that's what about equity? You had equity up, right?
It's EV.
Oh, it's frequency. Okay.
No, it's EV, not equity.
Okay. Well, I'm not smart enough to do the translation in my head of EV to equity, but there is a formula, but I don't know what
Bigger
it
is
is.
better. More is
Yeah.
better. That's the formula.
More EV is better.
Yeah.
Okay. So our eight's call. And they folded their ace 10.
Which is the equivalent of ace jack.
And we get the ace of clubs.
And now we'll never see what he should do with king queen because he never has king queen here.
Right.
So the closest thing to king queen is going to be the king jack is. If you give it full height, we'll see if it gives us any logic to anything. But these may be meaningless because he doesn't have them.
Gives up.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't fire. He fires
Betting
king
any top
5.
pair. But it seems like he's doing a lot of give ups.
Right. Five blocks the straight. So he can bet a king 5 and a queen 5.
Yeah, the 8x and the 5x's seem to be bluffing.
Yeah.
They check, and then of course we suspected our eights shouldn't be betting.
And now you bet with the spade diamond because now he has fewer auto fold flush draws, and so you might get called by a 7. He gets pushed into his 7x range when you block his spade draws and his diamond draws. So quick question on his on the hands that he bluffs, like the 8-9 and hands like that of his bluffs. Does he do both his suits, or does he prefer a suit in that range? Click on any one of those. He does the back door more than the front door, and that's what he's there with. And just check that if that's true across all of that bluffing range. It's not true of the queen. Ugh. It's true of the king, and then in that sort of 8-9 range here, what do we got? Prefers the spade. Next one. Any one of them, jack 8, jack 7, jack 9, any of those. Jack 8 is enough to just do it with all of them. Oh yes, we have to only look at the ones that are partial. Those are the only ones that it matters. Partial suited ones.
I think we've looked at them all here, right?
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, okay. So to simplify and say that more of them prefer when more of them prefer the spade to the diamond is going to be true, and the queen is an exception with its straight blocker. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, then we bring this guy back in, and Larry.
All right. I'm ready to rock.
So we're gonna get around to the low jack.
Low jack opens is pure, man. Jack 9 is not a flat, but this guy's gonna flat.
And with 24 big blinds, it's even less of a flat.
True. Queen 10 here. There's a much better squeeze than a flat, but he's gonna flat.
And so now we can, if we want, we can look at this as if it were full stacks and a queen 10 flat in the big blind.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, so this is a very interesting flop. So what do we have here? We've got bottom pair, back door. We got gutter to Broadway, and we have an open ender. Huh. Yeah, looking at equities is interesting. So
The
what
9
should
of
happen
hearts is
here?
the funniest turn in the world.
Yeah, I was trying to think about what the best turn. I knew there were some
Best
good
turn
ones
is
out
the
there.
9 of hearts. That's the most
Right.
interesting.
That is the most interesting turn. All right, so um I like a check with an intention to check raise here a lot. So ace 10 has to make a decision here. So if you were using Mark Goon rules, you would describe this as not exactly wet, not exactly dry, but you're even, right? You have your OOP to one, imposition to the other. And so I
You
think
bet because you have a gut shot to the nuts.
and you've got yeah, and so then you could say you're nutted draws, even hands with a gutter. He's gonna bet, so I think he bets and he bets small. What's this guy gonna do? Well, we don't know. He bets large. This is gonna put he's gonna get two flats, my guess is. Against this no, he doesn't want any part of it. He's holding his last 20 bucks. So then so against this size, we're gonna call. We're not gonna check raise against this size. Especially when he bet to two people. You don't expect him to have this hand. So we think that he's going to be stronger than he actually is here. I think we flat. Potential flat. Okay, so he's going for it. So this puts ace 10 into a very, very interesting spot. So you're facing a 3x check raise and playing in position with full stacks. You've got a backdoor, an over, and you've got a gutter to the nuts. I think you call. I think you call with this when you're playing in position with an opportunity to bluff to steal the pot later. What do
I
you guys
agree.
think?
I think you definitely call because he's bet your odds to hit your gutter are like 9%. The amount you got to pay is a little bit more than that, but not that much. I'm saying uh, of your implied odds. You're
Yeah.
almost getting that implied odds. Plus, you've got the ace might be good, and you've got your backdoor hearts. So
So I'm confused
size,
with some fundamentals here. So we got four outs to the nuts, right?
mhm.
We need a queen. We don't know he has a queen. So doesn't the rule of 2 and 4 tell us we have 16%?
No, that's to the river. I'm saying on the very
Oh, on the turn.
yeah, we've got 11. We've got 11%. Um, I'm sorry, we got nine. We got 9 outs. We're 1 in 11 to hit our queen.
Okay,
It-
I got you.
yeah.
You're just talking flop the turn.
Right. I said it right, and I said 1 in 11. It's there's 13 cards, but we get to count the card removal. So I was wrong about my exact number. But yes, I'm looking at. I'm not saying getting to the river here. This is not an all in. We're going to fold a lot of turns, but
Yeah.
but calling 12 more when he's got 109 behind, and
Yeah, we got
just the
implied
gut
odds.
shot. The gut shot alone is probably not enough. It's close, but it's not enough. But then you add the ace in, and you add the hearts. I think we have to lose 12 more chips here.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so
And now if he bets big, we have to fold.
now this card blanks us.
Actually, if he bets reasonable, we have to
So
fold.
he's chosen to check the XR line.
Mhm.
And so things get really complicated here, depending on if this card completes anything or if it's
Yeah,
a brick. I would say this is a brick.
it's a total brick.
And so that changes what he's supposed to do theoretically, but I'm not sure which way. So I think generally, if I take this line, I'm going to continue to tell the story that I got a set of sixes. So I'm going to now be 75.
One thing about your B75, it's got to work now because you leave yourself enough behind that it's going to be really hard to get a king to fold the
Yeah,
river.
that's valid.
Yeah.
That's totally valid.
So so this is a 2 street bluff, not a 3 street bluff at this size, at this
Yeah.
stack depth.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Because we're gonna have what? 34, 68 plus what? 47. We're like at 50, 60. We're like at 120. Yeah, you're right. So, so he now is going to have to, yeah, I agree. He's folding now. Yeah.
Okay.
Power of the check raise, boys.
Let's see if Jack 9 was in the Prometheus ranging. Button may have some Jack 9 suited. And
Yeah,
right,
it's really cuspy. It might be in there.
I'm going to slide this off so I can look at it while I build it. King of Spades, Jack of Diamonds, Six of Hearts. Big blind should be checking range, right? Okay, low jack. We saw the action. He bet big. We know low jack is going to get C bets because this is that two broadways, low card, two broadways with a low disconnected down there. We know that they are going to C bet Larry, which you surmised. He used a big size.
I don't think he's going to have that many big sizes.
I don't think he's going to have many, but I think he has some. Okay. Yep. So 80% C bets with a very small percentage of the larger sizing in there.
Yeah, so this correlates to the other solves, right? The higher your frequency of betting, the more you're betting small.
Yep. So let's give him the big size. That's where he went. Jack 9 suited was in range. Here, let me take off weighted. Let's see how often it has it. So, I mean, a decent amount, right?
Mixing.
And he folded his Jack 9, which, he was indifferent to it. And he had the Jack 9 of clubs. Yeah, he had the Jack 9 of clubs.
I think it makes sense here. This, if you got the back door to call. I think if you got the back door, you call pure.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the back door, you let it go against this big size against humans. This makes sense to me.
All right, so he folded. Now we get to see what the Queen 10 of spades. Queen 10 of spades was his hand. It's his hand. He went for the check raise, and he found it.
He doesn't care about the big size. He's like, yeah, let's rock.
Was it the big size though? He only made it basically 3x, right?
Yeah, he made it 18 bigs.
So his 6 into 10, 18, so 3x this. So he goes to 12. So it's somewhere in between these two sizes.
Well, choose the
Oh,
big
because
size because he doesn't use the small size too often.
and this
Okay.
is because Button is never allowed the size that he bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, so this is where it gets interesting. We think ace 10 continues, and let's go over the ace 10. And it doesn't care even about, well, clubs are indifferent, but everything else is like, okay, let's try to stack you.
Okay, you guys got that right. That was a pure call.
Yep.
And then we got the 8 of diamonds.
We go back and look at this if the, okay, let's see what he does here. But then can we look at this again as if the Broadway completing board card came, if the queen
Mhm.
came?
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so he is continuing half the time, a little more than half the time.
Yeah.
All right. So so he's still gonna at some frequency yellow his open ender.
And he's using, this is like a B66 or B75. Oops, I want to do this. Yeah, B75.
And everybody played it well.
Okay. And Larry, you nailed it. So let's go back and change the flop, right?
Yeah, I think what's gonna happen. Oh, I'll change the turn.
Oh yeah, the turn. Okay.
Yeah, to the queen, to any. I mean, I don't know which is more interesting, an offsuit queen or a backdoor completing queen. I don't know.
Queen of,
Why don't we keep it clean if you would and make it the offsuit version? So queen of clubs, yeah. That just is like one parameter we're playing with. So I think what's going to happen here is that he's not going to have as many bets. I think he's going to have small bets. And they're telling me that's not the case, so forget it. I thought what would happen here, which we see in solver sometimes, is when the locked up equity appears and both these parties have ace 10,
Yeah, you slow it down.
you slow down because you're not motivated for them to fall. You're not motivated for them to fold when your most obvious bluff comes in,
Hmm.
or one of your obvious bluffs, and he's got ace 10.
Yeah. But look at the ones that are betting big. When Jack 10, the two pair.
Jack 10 also blocking the nuts, right?
Yeah.
And so with his ace 10, he
Oh,
is
not two pair. I'm sorry, I said two pair. It's not. Yeah, Jack 10 blocking the nuts. Jack 9 being miserable.
what about blocking the queen? So does he have anything that blocks the queen jack is not really.
Yeah, we don't bet queens, but the only queen we bet big is the queen 10, is the queen 10 with the redraw.
So this is not what I expected. I expected something similar to what GTO Wizard would do here.
want to see anything else?
Yeah, so I'm curious what happens. So let's say he chooses big bet, which is the most common size, yeah, which is like a B75. All right, so okay, so he's like I'm so he doesn't care with his sets. His sets are going. His overpair with still drawing to a 10 is calling. And his nuts are slow playing.
Set of kings, set of queens, set of jacks doesn't slow play. Ace 10 slow plays. Yeah, so
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
10,
so
ace 10 and 10 9. Hold on,
and
10 9.
then
Yeah, it's queen king. Queen king.
yeah, so his ass end is still calling.
Yeah, we don't fold. We're not folding a straight ever. We're not folding straight to a jam on the river, I don't think.
I would imagine not.
Huh?
Not in the rainbow texture. No
Yeah.
flush possible. Okay, cool. Thank you, Mike.
But your bottom set slow plays. Your bottom set either slow plays or is actually not happy.
It's either slow playing or it's expecting 22% of the time to boat up.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see if it check raises it, what it does on a river. Okay. So give us a blank river. Now he folded, right? The ace 10 just folded.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, so give us a blank river and let's just see.
So call.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have a set, we don't have a straight.
He's got a multitude of strats here, right? So he's no traps with the nuts.
Jacks. Jacks are your traps.
Yeah, I guess jacks are your traps. But well, yeah, I guess so. They're just second nuts or whatever,
Yeah.
fourth nuts. Um yeah, okay.
Right. So low jack now. Low jack is the one who check raised. I'm not sorry, low jack. Big blind check raised before. So this is the big blind. So the big blind is so now assuming so the big blind's only bet is all in.
Yeah.
So there is no he's not slow playing his sixes. He's just gonna call with his sixes. We're just gonna see. That's what we're gonna see. So he jams and we don't fold. We don't
Dude,
fold.
what's our value threshold? What's our calling threshold? So
And we call with two pair
It looks like,
or blocking the nuts.
yeah,
So,
it looks like ace king blocking the nuts likes to call here.
yeah, but king queen doesn't. King queen is not happy.
Yeah, good point. King queen top two is
Doesn't like it. King jack likes it more. King 10 likes it. King 6 loves it.
this is always important to see that in solver land, you can argue it's slightly better to block the nuts with top pair than it is to have two pair.
Yeah,
Which makes sense because he's repping better than two pair.
right.
So we
And
want to block the
somehow,
nuts that he's repping.
and somehow king 6 unblocks more bluffs than king queen, king jack, and king 10. Somehow his bluffs have 10s in them.
Yeah.
His bluffs have a jack in them.
Yeah, we'd have to look at interaction. Well, that was an interesting hand, I thought.
That is. Skate.
Hand of the day.
Yep.
You ready?
Sure.
Okay, this one's yours.
Alrighty then. Ace 9 here. Yep, full frequency. Fold around 2, queen 4 in the small blind is too weak. It's not a suited Broadway to an even worse call. That's fine, okay. Around to the 10-4 should be a fold in the big blind.
Yep. So 2 poor plays here in these 2 positions.
Okay, monotone flop. Monotone flop. So here on the monotone, do we have any donks from the big blind? Multi-way, maybe no. So let's check around to pre-flop razor with middle pair and no spade. Our hand is, I guess you could say, marginally made. So first our range. So we're in the low jack, right? We have a bunch of suited Broadway, and stuff like that. We don't have very many 2 pairs. We have all the sets as well, a little bit more than them. But anyways, I believe our hand is going to want to check here. Okay, nothing really changed here with this turn. Same thing. Let's check around to the pre-flop razor. And since he did not pick up any additional equity, we're going to check once more on this monotone flop. Okay, now this is an interesting river because I'm thinking of going for some value. If it's checked around, I assume that at this point, if the big blind or villain 34 had any kind of flush, it's going to be represented here. So as played, I'm going to go for a bet. How much? Maybe that's fine. I like that. And anything under pot. Yep.
Okay. All right, that one falls outside our usual or our it was a low jack, small blind, big blind, which we'll pursue some other time. So let's get back to here. All right, so let's see. This would be me. Let's see if we get a low jack raise, and we get we're getting a 5-8 off, and then we get another call on the button. So this one is outside of our. Let's go to the next one. So we get a low jack raise, 6-5 suited, and we're not going to get a button call here. And it's a short stack. Let's go to the next one. This is the same hand, weird stuff. Okay, here we go. 8's raised. Is this the same hand? Yeah, this is the same hand we saw.
Yeah, it looks familiar.
Okay, Queen Jack.
Hey guys, I'm gonna step away, but I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Another same hand. So this is weird. This is the thing about Poker Tracker 4. It duplicates hands when we filter for certain qualities. Yeah, these are all the same hand because it's just taking different players from the hand. Let's see if this one gives this to us. This is the ace-9 hand. We have this one already. There's the 8-8 hand, 5-6 hand. All right, let's see if we can't.
I
Yeah,
think
so
so. I had an idea for now that we're at this stage. I just remembered. So like moving forward for the next study sessions, I think it's maybe a good idea to review marked hands like more closer to what we're studying. So like we're like more like studying more on the specific topic. I mean, it's really more for me because I feel like I have a hard time studying like different topics at different times.
yeah, so bring in marked hands that match what we're studying.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I like that. All right, so let's see if we get one here. So we get a low jack raise. Good. That's what we're looking for. We get a flat in position, and then we get a big blind flat. All right, here we go. Here's our low jack button big blind. So we're already seeing a little bit of a deviation with this player down here, flatting aces. Um, I don't know. I suppose it's a thing if you have a player behind you that's been pretty crazy. But otherwise, you should just be three betting that. All right, so we'll go to a flop and we get this low disconnected dry flop. Big blind. Does he get donks here? Probably not as many as we would think if, in a heads up pot because there's no locked up equity. There's no straight available, but it's low enough that I'm sure we're going to see about between 5 and 10% donks here. This hand would fall into there. So I bet we're going to see, well, 5-7 suited wouldn't make a call. So if it was suited, I think you would be donking. But he checks. King, queen. This is going to be a check range board for the original raiser. So he should be checking here. In theory, he checks. Gets back around to button. We know button is going to be betting at a high frequency on these kind of boards. It is dry. Certainly, if you have aces here, it's going to fall into the old check or the old bet um, strategy. If Prometheus ever even flats aces, which I'm sure it doesn't. So he should be betting, and he will. And these guys that do this, he's going to go big. I guarantee it. Oh, he checks again. Okay, so he checks. All right, so we check around on this flop. Now we get another low, and look at 5-7 getting there. Let's see if he slow plays. So he goes small.
Am I coming back to a trapper paying the ultimate price?
Yeah, you are.
Ha ha!
King Queen should fold. I don't think he'd ever want to raise here. Now the aces, these kind of players that have done this so far, he's checked he called pre-flop and checked through the flop. He's probably panicking, so he may panic raise, or he may just flat and just try to get the showdown. So he just tries to get the showdown as far as I know, is that's what he's doing. That's probably best. I probably wouldn't raise it here either. And oh, look at this. This is going to be an interesting one here. So if I were villain, I could be here with 7-5 suited, and I would value bet to the tune of probably 75%, which he does. And the ace is now that he's his set, does he overvalue this and raise? Or is it a good raise? Would this be a good raise?
Well,
Probably
I,
not to this size. I don't think to this size versus the big blind. I think I would probably just call here if I had
this is
gotten
kind of a
50.
hidden straight. Let's see what he does.
It is. It's all over the big blind. Yeah, I mean, I could see you getting value if you did raise. I could see you raising and getting called by two pairs and a set that played that way. He does raise. And now that you have this straight, and you get raised on the flush completer.
So the argument for not shoving here is that it's hard to know what calls your shove except a flush.
Right.
What do you guys think? If you have 7-5 of club here, what I don't think we raise because what calls me except better.
Well, first, how much was the bet on the well, okay, so first of all, I'm not really too worried about the possibilities of backdoor flushes on the river. I think that they don't really happen at a high frequency, in my opinion. So yeah, so I'm not going to play aces this way, but I really don't mind the way the raise and the way he played this hand as played, which is bad. Yeah, I'm not worried about the backdoor, and if let's say you give me this hand and you put me on the river without any pre-flop action, I will raise these aces.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you?
I mean,
So
the
what are
way
you
it's
gonna do
played,
right
I
now?
think he can easily have all the back doors. I mean, he can have he's checked all the way basically to this river. He called a small. He could
Yeah,
have
ranges
hearts.
aren't filtered.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
could easily have hearts.
yeah. The second thing I didn't say was yeah, we do have the five of hearts, but that's not a relevant blocker. Yep, that's all.
So yeah, I think you call here. I don't think you raise because it's just hard to know. It's hard to get called by worse to shove.
Hmm.
And if he shoves, you're in hell.
So this one is a good one to look at. We won't see aces on the button, and we won't. I don't think we're going to see 7-5 suited. Maybe. Do you think that's to the 2x? Let me get that
I
back
don't
up.
think in this we are. I think that GTA Wizard play it
7-5 off.
in the big blind. Oh, so no, I 7-5 suited.
I think 7-5 suited makes it in there, even in GTO, doesn't it?
It
GTO
does
Wizard.
in GTA Wizard, yeah.
You said yes, it does.
Yeah, it does
Yeah,
in GTA Wizard at 500.
at 500 2x. Yeah, I would think so.
I don't know if it's going with the big blind here. It does get it. So
Okay, so yep, I kind of expected to see. I said somewhere between 5 and 9% was my guess, so right in the middle. And the specific hand was 7-5 off suit, and yeah, it's not in there.
but he's
7-5
got seven
suited
fives.
is pure, which we figured. And I thought this would be one of the hands we would get to see with a little bit more, like a little high,
Donking.
like one of them, if one of them that would have a bigger chunk, but it doesn't.
On this note here, how good is our population players? Okay, so how good is population playing online? Are they realistically folding 7-5 off like GTO, or they're going to be calling it more often? What do you guys think?
It's very player dependent. I mean, we're looking at 100 NL on ignition, which is a pretty hard pull.
Mm,
And we're seeing this guy's gambling it up. So, I think you are going to see it sometimes. It's very player dependent, and I think it's very pool dependent.
I see. Okay, so
Yeah.
like people are making mistakes all over the place.
Oh, yeah, and we see it right here. And
Okay.
this player, like again, it's anonymous, so we don't know who it is. We don't know how often he plays, but look at his stats. He's obviously, and I'm beginning to think that maybe this player and I'm thinking he was just doing it for whatever reason. But to flat aces, you need to have a maniac behind you. I don't think this was the case.
Yeah, I don't think Villain 44 knows it. I mean, he's a broken stack. I don't know if he's
Exactly. I'm with you, Larry. I don't think he had any reason doing it other than, oh, watch me do this. Die, die, die.
watch me on myself. So
All right. So yeah, we figured there'd be some donking, and so they check. We get back to what was the original razor? King Queen. King, queen, we figured they would be checking range, which is the case. And then to the button, where we figured would be betting quite frequently. Now, we didn't figure there'd be aces in this range, which there's not. Pocket queens, everything, but basically every overpair is going to be betting.
Again, we're seeing this high frequency bet leveraging, I would argue, leveraging positional advantage.
Yep, I agree. And we do see a very good percentage of using a big size. They wound up checking through. Okay, and then we got the 6 of hearts, which should be great for the big blind, which was great for the big blind. And when it checks through, I think the big blind strategy is going to be still checking at a pretty good clip, but getting some big bets in. Like betting less than 50%. That's my guess.
Well, who has the advantage
Who has the what?
now? So
Larry, you're breaking up.
in theory, in this range, we've got advantage on this 6 of hearts. Uh-oh. How about now? Is that better?
Now you're back. You're back.
Well, first question I'd ask is who has the nut advantage when this card comes? And it's probably big blind. But he only has 4 combos of the nuts, so maybe he doesn't get a lot of donks.
Okay, so definitely less than 50, which I said less than 50. I was expecting it to be more than 23. But we've seen this kind of heuristic. Like I've been surprised at how little big blind should be leading now that it's checked through on these type of flops.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, middle of the sandwich, right? So
So they check. Now we get back to the original razor once it's checked through. Is king queen. So likes the heart, queen of hearts specifically.
blocking continues, I would argue, right? That's my argument, at least.
But not the king of hearts.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I think we all kind of said they should be checking a lot, which I mean, king queen should be, right? But look at what is betting. Did you say blocking continues? How about something like Jack 10, Jack 9? Those are betting at a very high frequency. King 7's a gutter. King 6 is a pair. Ace 7 is a gutter. Ace 6 is a pair. Ace 5 is a gutter.
Yeah. Ace five's a open ender.
Open ender, yep.
Yeah, and then so yeah, and then our overpairs, and then at least we're seeing a little bit of linear activity, right? Where we assume this is around aces needing the least amount of protection relative to jacks and tens.
Okay. All right, so they check, and it got back around to the aces. Oh, wait, no, they didn't check, did they? The turn went, the 7-5 did bet small. 7-5 bet small. I'm going to go back. Get out of there. Get out of there. There we go.
It likes betting more with the straight and the redraw,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't like betting this.
No, either. All right, so now the
when
king
it's got
queen,
other bets across its entire range, yet it's checking nuts.
king queen folds. We're on to the aces. So all the overpairs should be just calling. I think that kind of makes sense once the big blind bets this turn. No raising, or very little raising, I should say. And the ace of hearts.
Now it gets interesting.
Big blind with his straight.
Mixing. It wants to check. So if it now, well, 7-5 bets, right? Backdoor stuff maybe, but the flush, but it checks pure. Is it check? It just must find this is a very good check call hand. Except when it has the flush angle blocking his flush.
Yeah. Yeah, and it wants to go big.
I think it's like trying to make it look. No, it's solver. It's not trying to make it look bluffy.
It's yeah, it's interesting. I wish we could look at hand classes. So like what it looks like it's using a small size with its nuts, right? So like if you roll over ace 8 suited. Thank you. It doesn't have it because 8's out there.
Do
No,
you mean
the ace of
you
hearts is
mean
out there.
when you say nuts, do
Yeah,
you mean like
sorry,
king
I
eight
meant,
suited?
yeah, I was just being retarded, which is quite often with me. So it is using small size here with nuts mostly and trap checking.
So using a large size with the no checking the nuts there when you're blocking the straight. I would think you'd want to unblock the straight to check. What am I getting wrong there?
I don't know. I would think you'd want to unblock. Yes, I think you'd want to unblock his straight, his high equity hands. Yeah, you're right. For me to trap check, I'd want to unblock his high equity hands. Or no, you know what? You could argue we bet more because he's gonna bet less when he has straights, depending on if he bets his straights.
Okay, all right, I'll buy that.
Maybe it has to do with something about the ace hitting the river, that it's better for Bud in its calling range. I don't know.
Going after it with the king high blocker and the queen and the jack high blocker. Okay. All right. So they wound up going B75 with their straight. We're not going to see what he does with trip aces, the set of aces. If he had a set of sixes, he'd raise some of the time. So we'll give him that raise. And it was like something like this. And then the 7-5 wants to get it in.
Yeah, nobody's really worried about that backdoor flush at this SPR.
We were thinking the 7-5 should call, but he goes all in. Then what does the other guy call with? He's indifferent with his sets. Doesn't have a straight here.
Why don't we have set of eights?
Indifferent with some flushes. We didn't get here with the set of eights. We took a different action.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go back. I'm going to change that ace of hearts to a queen of hearts, which is, I think now he can get here with a set of queens now. And see if that does anything goofy to what we do here. So the big blind bet is straight. He bet B75. The set of queens should just call and not raise. Jacks with the heart wants to bluff.
That's kind of counterintuitive. So on the same flush completing river, whether relevant or not. So the sixes wants to raise some portion, and the queens wants to just flat call. Weird.
All right. That was some crazy stuff we're seeing. All right, Larry.
Yeah, let's rock. Okay, so King Queen does get to open this early. Ace King should 3-bet pure. We know they're not. Fail. He's failed us. I think King 10 is actually a call here against these early position opens. I don't think we get squeezes with this combo multi-way against EP opens.
Yeah, I think so. Let's pretend and go forward. This is the button, and I think you do see some ace king flats on the button to a low jack, right?
Yeah.
So
True.
assume he's on the button here, Larry. Does king 10 like to squeeze?
I'm not sure.
I think it does. I think king 10 is
I'm
one
not
of those
sure. Yeah.
that does get in there, at least in our usual stuff. Low jack, button, ace king off. I think there's going to be a small percentage of flats. Yeah, it's sliver. There's a sliver there. And
And
then
in the
big
slivers.
blind, king 10 suited, just a straight flat. It's a king jack that gets in there.
King Jack, yeah.
Okay. So back to our guy.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention, like, solver likes those suited jacks for some reason. When I swing.
So he's going to flat, which is good.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. We're
Hey,
getting
Derek.
that. Hi there.
Hey, what's up there?
Like they're playing Jack so aggressively, like
No, it's just that
Okay.
like it prefers the suited Broadway, like the suited tens plus, and it just mixes with those suited tens and suited jacks, and some of those suited queens, like king queen suited.
yeah,
All right,
yeah. Because
so
Yep.
I'm
we're
sorry,
seeing
go ahead, guys.
Jacks get right into it with the
Yep.
3 bets.
Yeah, we're back. Let him play that.
It's all right. No worries if you guys want to talk. So this should check through. So yeah, this should be a check, I think.
Yeah, I think big blind might get a small percentage again, like we've seen, like less than 10. But yeah, check through. King queen checks here. So remember, he's on the button. This ace king's on the button.
So he's got ultimate position, right? So
Yep.
we have seen that. Okay, so then let's change this. Because what we've seen is that in these solves, his button seems to be pretty oblivious to texture and bets his ultimate position. So yeah, let's give him a bet then. I don't think he is, but in theory, he would have a bet here of small.
Yeah, and he's going to have a bunch of big bets too, I think.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, so he's gonna leverage his positional advantage here. So king 10 doesn't have much going on. It has got a back door. I think both these hands are folds. Well,
I thought you were gonna bring the old Larry check raise from the big blind here. I like that play, by the way. I don't know if it's gonna show up in solver, but
yeah,
the back door with a kind of a shitty hand, but that's good for your range.
yeah, yeah. You're right. I mean, it potentially could be there.
Yep.
King
Um,
queen
I
is
I have
now
a
heads
question.
up. Go ahead.
Do your opponents think like that when you play? Like to give you the folds? Like, do they think, oh, this guy is this hits the? Are they thinking about what hits your hand? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see your point. Are they thinking in range versus range strategies, you're asking, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so some opponents are, but I would say most are not, but some are. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I just started playing online, but I would assume that um, the online players are a little bit better than the live, as far as I have heard.
Online players are
So
definitely better than mine.
yeah, so I imagine that they would. I imagine that they would, I guess, know something about GTO, but not like they're not studying as much as we are, so they're not as scholared.
Yeah, I think there is some range versus range knowledge going on, but it's going to be a lot less live than it is online. Online people, I mean, the old theory is that if you can beat 10 NL online, you're going to crush 1-2 live, right? And so I think online people are much more range versus range. Generally, online is just more theory based.
So Mike, you play 100 plus NL. That's pretty. So like, um, any recommendations for me, or any like, because I want to make the jump from 50 NL to 100, but I mean, I don't want to. I want to walk and not run, right? So I want to make sure I'm a winning player. I think would be the best way to go about it. And then, with that being said, starting next month, do you think? Do you guys think would be a good idea to put some money together to get a coach to help us move up stakes, or you think that's not? We don't need that. That we're doing fine just as we are.
Oh
I
no, we can
mean,
always do that. We can talk about that. Let's let Larry finish his hand, and then we can get into some of that in a little bit.
Perfect.
yeah. So this small bet, um, I mean, you're losing to ace high. You're behind ace high. I just think you fold here.
Yeah, I agree. I was wondering because we've seen it. If the king 10 were to flat here, if they get some, what they're check raising with, we've seen some pretty crazy check raises once it goes small bet flat and then back to you. But let's take a look. We've seen this flop a lot. We've seen this kind of flop. Let's see how it goes. Low jack, button, big blind. We got an 8, 3 of spades, 6 of hearts. Big blind's going to have a very tiny bit of donks. Okay, yep, 5% of donks. We figured the king queen was not one of them, or not king queen. What was it? He had king 10. The king 10 was in the big blind.
Can you put it
Okay.
back on weighted strategy? Do you think that helps us a little bit? Do you think that's a net negative or positive, Mike, to have it on weighted strategy?
Oh, I think we should have it on weighted strategy until it gets down to where it's just slivers.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, so they check, and the original razor, as you said, should be checking a lot, which they do, and certainly their king queen does that as well. Let's just take a look. As we assume we got a spade in there. Helps. Spade heart is the best way to go when you do it. Okay, they check. All right, here's the question. Big blind or the button now. Larry, you said is going to have a lot of betting. I said I bet there's going to be split pretty evenly towards some big bets. I'm more small bets, but a decent chunk of large betting. And frequency wise, total bets, I'm going to set the line at 70.
Sounds right. Yeah, we've just seen this over and over again.
Over or under, Larry?
I'm gonna go under on this texture.
Skate over or under?
Over under what, like
70% frequency betting from the button now that it's checked to him.
okay. It's gonna be, since the big blind is there, it's gonna be more checking.
Okay, so you're taking the under.
Yeah,
Derek, what do you think?
Okay. I think that if you're playing against perfect opponents, you want to keep the pot small and use your position to win on a later street, because you haven't hit anything, and you, you benefit from playing last into a small pot. So I'm gonna say if it were heads up, yeah, over 70, but three ways, I'd say not. Let's play small ball and keep the pot small.
All right, so you're taking the under.
Yeah, definitely under
Here we
because
go.
of those reasons.
69.
Oh,
wow.
We win thousands.
where'd you get the 69 from?
Down here, 31%
Okay, yeah, I
checking.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, so more small bets, but a good chunk of large bets. And it just seems to be kind of split, that whatever hand you choose, just split it up. 52% of the time you go small and 17% of the time you go big.
Wow. So there's no wrong answer except folding.
Well, yeah,
You
you,
can't
you
play
definitely don't
wrong.
want to fold.
Yeah.
All right, so they had ace king, and so we see he's got a decent amount of ace king here in the Prometheus frequencies. Um, he's never betting big with ace king. Loves having the king of spades and the ace of spades. Okay.
So I guess like this means that these middling type boards may be better for button.
Yeah, for sure. Button and big blind.
Nice.
All right, so he went small. He went B33. All right, back to the big blind, and we've seen this before. They don't raise that often when they're in the sandwich. He wound up folding his king 10. Make sure that was right. Yep. And then it got back, and then it just folded through. So we fold the king 10, and the king queen is indifferent, but I bet you got to have a spade. Yep, got to have a spade. And then when you do not fold to that small size. All right, good job, Larry.
Right.
Skate, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, we get around to the low jack. Oh,
Low.
this is the same hand. I'm gonna have to shuffle through. There's a bunch of hands that it duplicates when I filter for this, so stand by. Bear with me. Dang it. We were down here. Where was it?
And you can't like stop it from doing that, or it just duplicates it when you try to show it in the trainer.
Yeah, I don't know why it duplicates. It's super weird because it shows all 9 players and their hands and what in the action that they do. So stand by. Let me get to a new hand. I think is this one? No, that's the same hand. Here we go. No, we've seen that one. That one doesn't apply. That one, same hand. We've seen that one. Here we go. We have not seen this one. Here we go, Skate. Get around to the low jack.
All right. Low jack 10-9 is gonna be okay. I'm gonna cheat here. Look at my notes. No, I'm not. I don't have it. I'm looking at button. I think it's no suited. It's suited 10. So 10-9. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be partial, but mostly opening. All right.
Yep.
All right, and the insolver lands either raise or fold, right? So the ace-10 could definitely fall in that category as a suited Broadway. But I imagine here they're just gonna flat.
Okay, they do.
Yep, Queen Jack. It's a good enough offsuit to flat in my opinion, and I believe that that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, they will flat. However, Queen Jack off, I think will have a very low frequency call, but more raising and more folding.
Yeah, I don't find those offsuit raises as ISOs. That just reminds me, or no, is it?
Here it is in the 2.5 raise in GTO Wizard. Now, if we move it up into the 500 big blind NL 500 world, then we start to see a sliver of calling. And if we were to make it a 2x raise, I would imagine it calls much more often. It calls pure when it's only a 2x.
Huh.
So in the world of Prometheus, I would imagine it's a pretty hefty call.
Yeah, it's a call. Like I don't. Yeah, like Solver doesn't like raising those. ISOing those offsuit.
In a
Because-
world that Larry plays, no rake, it's certainly
Yeah.
would be a call, I would imagine.
It is.
Okay, so we get the call. Here you go. Here's your flop. Woof.
But no, right? No 3-betting pre-flop from the offsuit. As much.
Oh no, I think there's lots of 3-betting from the offsuit variety.
Yeah, probably want to have an ace or king. I would assume. Okay. All right. This is a great flop. For this big blind. We're 3-way. Our hand is not good. For this flop without a club and without a 5 or a 9, 8, excuse me. So therefore, we're gonna check out of position.
Yep, they check. Yep.
Yep. Okay. Here. That was a pre-flop raiser, right? Okay. Yeah. So they have a 9. I mean, they could most certainly, if they wanted to, they could follow up with a C bet, or they could check.
What have we been seeing from theory? What are you going to see most here?
Most here, you're gonna see, yeah, theory. Good point. I think you're gonna want to see a check.
Yeah, it will check. I think pretty close to range, right?
Yeah, because you don't want to be facing like any sort of check raises or any aggression from the other players.
Well, this hand, you
Yeah.
certainly don't mind. But
Yeah, yeah.
in theory, your range wants to check
Yeah.
a ton. Now, if we get outside of theory and exploitation land, you start building pots against players that aren't going to bet in position, because we know that when we check here in theory, the button bets we saw 70% of the time on, like low flops and shit. So you would think the button in theory is going to bet an absolute shit ton when we check to him here. But our players don't bet an absolute shit ton, do they?
No.
No, my
So-
players.
So in exploitation land, you probably want to bet way more often than theory suggests.
Yeah, just to take down the pot right then and there would be the point.
So what do they do? They go big.
Big.
I don't think this is going to be a thing in Prometheus.
So Prometheus would say go bet like 2.5.
No, Prometheus will say check.
Oh, because Prometheus says the button is going to bet for you,
Yes.
and you can check raise him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess in real world, these villains are not, maybe for the exception of really good players, are not finding those bluff check raises on boards that they know that hit their range better.
So what does Ace 10 do now?
Ace 10 has nothing going on. They should get out of the way. As well as Queen Jack, unless they want to do some, even, to the size, yeah.
All right, so let's look at that. Let's just confirm our suspicions. Okay, we had a flop of 6-8 of clubs, 7 of diamonds. Big blind, we are expecting to have some donks here, which we were, and a decent amount of donks, so we get up to 11% of the time. They checked. There is your guy with the 10-9 suited.
Whoa.
So look at the checking. Range.
Wow.
Very,
96% checking.
yeah. And when he does check the button, let's do that. Let's play our game. Over, under, let's set the line. I'm going to set the line on this flop at, I think 70 was a pretty good number, but I think it's going to be higher. So I'm going to set the line at 75. 75%.
I'll take the 74% under.
All right, you take the under.
80.
So you take the over, Larry. I think Larry might have stepped away.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, we're right at that number again. We're right at 69. I hear you, Larry.
No, we can't, no.
Yeah, I think, yeah, 69 again.
69, dude. All right. So, like we said, I don't think our opponents are going to be betting this much with all of these hands that it's suggesting to do it with. So betting as the pre-flop raiser with, our value hands is going to be much more profitable than the solver will suggest it is.
61% bet 25. That's a big chunk.
Yeah. But what happened in the hand is the low jack did bet, and they went with a large size, which we said wouldn't be a thing, and it's not. So now let's bring in the weighted strategy just so we can see what everybody's doing. So now the button, there's their strategy, which we, at the time, what did they have? They had ace 10. They had ace 10 of hearts. And you need the back doors or the front door to continue. Even the back door says I'm out. The back door with the gutter. Fold, fold. Big blind. Getting some check raises in there. With this range of hands that are all right in here. Okay.
Can you scroll over the 10-9 suited? Curious if it's slow playing. It's straight flush draw. No, it bets that more.
If the button, let's take a look here. So we're folding 69% of the time, raising 10% of the time. If the button were to flat this hand, so we're really raising all of our best hands. This is a check raise, by the way. Very little calling. In fact, we're raising more than we're calling.
Mm.
Okay. Same hand. Same hand. Is this a new one? This looks like a new one. All right. Here we go. This is for me. And then Derek.
Okay.
King 10, low jack is a mix in my world, but we know he's going to raise here, so it's a good raise. He goes with a bigger size raise. Okay, fine, if that's what he's always doing. Ace 4 suited on the button to this size raise. I would always 3-bet this. Maybe to some players, I won't 3-bet it, but to decent players, I'll 3-bet it pure. They call, and these hands should be folds, and they're going to call. I think the ace 4 suited on the button is a fine flat as well. Like, you'll see that in theory. All right. Oh, we get another low disconnected flop. This is actually a connected flop. There is locked up equity on the board potential. King 7, big blind. This could be a donkable hand, and it's a donkable board, and it's a donkable hand. I think if I were in the big blind here and I had King 7 of whatever, if I had the back door, I think I would probably donk this at a pretty good clip. They check. The original raiser should be checking range on this flop. They go pot. Good job, villain. And now the ace 4 is kind of in a weird spot. He's got the back door flush and a pair to a pot-sized bet. God, that just seems, it feels really close. I would fold it to population, I think. I think I'd probably fold it to anybody, to be honest. Yeah, we don't want to be raising. They fold. Now the King 7 is in a weird spot now to this pot size raise. I don't think you can fold yet. So I would call if I had like the suited variety. Maybe you start folding the King 7 of diamonds is indifferent, but all the others you call pure. And they fold. Okay. So another interesting, we can confirm some of our heuristics that we've seen on this low flop. Low jack, button, big blind, 7 of hearts, 3 of spades, 4 of clubs. Okay, a lot of donking. King 7 is one of those hands that likes to donk, get it in there for sure. Let's see how it spreads it out among the suits. So all the back doors there. It likes the non-backdoor donk more often, actually. The Badoogie donk. All right, so they check. And then this guy goes, was this the original razor? Yeah, this was the original razor. He goes pot. That's not going to be a thing. It's not, they don't even get big bets. They don't get any, they are checking range, which we figured. If he goes big, let's give him a big bet here and see what ace 4 suited in position. Let's see if we were correct. Yeah, it's just indifferent across the board. Folding the non-back door pure, and then indifferent in the other categories. And like I said, I'd probably just overfold it to anybody that to a pot size bet. So ace 4 is a fold there. Fold. And then it was the King 7. So top pair. Yeah, we're not folding a top pair. And it's even raising. Raising with the club variety. Raising with any of them. To the pot size though, should we be raising more often? Maybe not, maybe so. I don't know. Okay. Just for my edification, if he goes with his normal size, which would be small, if he bets this flop, the button with his ace four now never folds, which we wouldn't expect. Doesn't do any raising either. Let's say they call. Now the king seven, top pair, wants to get after it when you unblock their auto folds, like I think this is unblocking their auto folds, plus it gives, you've got value. You've got redraw value, right? Raising the ace seven, raising them all at some frequency. All right, any other questions? What do you guys think about ace four on the button to a big bet? Let's say they go the big B66. Did you guys, if you had ace four of spades here, what was your thought? Just folding all the time?
Well, you do have like added stuff with the, sorry, I mean, with the ace there, like especially with the back door and the over. Not really sure. I mean, pot size bet is kind of, even though you're in this, you still have another player that can add, so.
All right, Derek, you're up. Skate, just so you know, your mic sounded like you were in 2 rooms over.
Oh, I know, because it's like, it's all the way over there. Thank you.
Hey, Derek, I'm going to find you a hand we haven't
Okay.
used yet. I think this is one of them. Here we go, Derek. This is you.
Okay.
Oh, wait a second. This one has a poster. We want to get out of there. We saw this one. We saw this one has a poster. Well, I think we could use this one because I think he's going to raise. So he's in the low jack and he raises. All right, we can use this one.
Okay. So you have an offsuit ace in the big blind.
We got a bad call here.
Okay. And that would precipitate the jack eight, maybe the call, which is bad. Oh, he folds. 8-4. This is in my squeeze range. One, I'm out of position. Two, this is like not that great a hand, so I'm throwing the 8-4 off into my squeeze range.
I like it. I like it, Derek, on the aggressive side.
If I'm gonna squeeze, I'm probably gonna go big. So 17.
Okay, very good. That's aggressive. In theory, it'd be a fold, but I mean, if you're going to err on the side of aggression, that's the side to err on. But we know that our opponents are going to flat this all the time, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, the flop texture is, we've got the 10 of diamonds, and there's an overcard. We've got a backdoorish straight, but I kind of discount backdoor straights on flush boards a little bit. The 8-4 doesn't like this at all. He has a backdoor straight on a flushing board. So since he didn't go with my big squeeze play, he's gonna check.
Yep, he checked.
Tens kind of hates his hand, but at least it wasn't an ace or a jack come. So with a pair under top pair, he can bet sometimes and check sometimes. If he bets, he's going to bet like 33, 25% or something like that.
Okay. He goes
10,
B50.
6. Yeah, 10-6 kind of hates his life. He has no heart, so he's getting out of there. 8-4 didn't hit the board at all, so he can either bluff or fold. So he's gonna fold.
Yeah, here's a board that we kind of didn't really explore earlier. It was more on the lines of a king high disconnected type of board. But so let's take a look and see what our c betting strategy is when we are the low jack and we have an under pair that's still pretty decent.
In your populations, do you c bet too much on purpose?
Yeah,
I
I
c
would
bet
say,
too much on purpose.
yeah, I do. I think I increase my c betting frequency to population and play a little bit more closer to theory versus players I think that are good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we saw big blind checking range, which we figured they don't even have ace four, of course, not in it. All right, here we go. Here's our pocket tens. So we see our global frequency. We're checking 70% of the time because we still have kind of an uncapped range here. He's checking range, and we still have a player to act on the button. So all of our overpairs are even checking half the time. And we put our sets in that category. We just check our range here basically less than half the time, or more than half the time. So our tens, like you said, can bet and it can check. And we bet the 10 of diamonds more often. Not really. It's not really a consideration in this sim. They went B50. So let's give them this bigger size. And then, of course, we know the other guys, everyone else is just going to fold their hands that they had. But look at what our defense should be on the button here. There's a decent amount of raising when you wrap around the jack and the nine. And you have over cards. All that's good stuff. So yeah, you were spot on, Derek. Betting or checking, and like you said, probably betting more often just based on your population.
Yeah, yeah. I think I just played a maximally exploit rather than worry about Phil Ivey at my 1-3 game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep. Larry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, let me get you a hand that we haven't seen yet. I think this is one. Nope, we've seen that one. Did we see the ace nine suited? Yeah, we saw the ace nine suited. They get trips on the river. We saw that one. Let's go way down here. Let's try this one. Okay, we haven't seen this one yet, Larry. This is you.
Well, hero gets to open here, and and ace 10 is going to defend. I don't know what's going to flatten here.
Okay, so this one's outside of our low jack slash button big blind. Let's go to another one.
Okay.
Oh, is that the end of our hands? It is. It's the end. You want to do this one and we'll look at it low jack.
Yeah, let's do this
small blind,
one.
big blind?
Yeah, let's do this one.
And
I
then
like having queens.
then we can stop there, and if you guys want to discuss with Skate about bankrolls and that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
sure. That's a good idea. Let's do that. We'll stop the recording and. All right. So last hand, guys. So you get this flop. This might be quite quick. So I don't think we trap check at all here. I could see this is dryish texture, but not entirely. So, I should go check. Our hero should bet small, I think, with this combo.
Now, we didn't look at low jack, small blind, big blind yet. Like we haven't dove deep into it yet, but Does this flop? Do you think there's any donking from the small blind here?
No, I don't. So I don't really understand the dynamics that in theory gives small blind blind. I mean, so I know the theory. The theory is that a player has such a significant nut advantage relative to other players slash players that it gets to donk because solver checks so much on that texture in position that we are then compelled to bet out of position. And that's driven with a clear nut advantage, usually a pretty big nut advantage. This is not going to be I don't think that's the case on this texture.
Oops. Okay. So what did you say about the queens when it gets to him?
I think Hero bets small. I think Hero should bet small.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we would like to have calls here generally, and we're not going to get any. All right. So do we want to look at this
Yeah.
spot in solver, and then we'll
Yep.
call the recording and talk to Skate about his questions.
Yeah. I'm wondering
Now,
if
why do you think small blind? Are you thinking small blind gets donks here?
um I'm kind of torn on whether this particular flop gets it. But
I
we've
mean,
seen,
we know they're there in multi-way, but
yeah, and
I'm not clear.
I wanted to give
No.
you a counterpoint to your argument of, they donk when they have a nut advantage. And I think I've seen it when it's not necessarily a nut advantage. They donk when they're going to get checks behind and it's almost like it's for protection. Like we've seen it a lot on like say a queen,
Hmm.
like a high card and two low cards. So their range is a lot in the middle there with all those pairs, like sixes through jacks.
Yeah, I
They,
think
they donk all that stuff. So now the range that they consist of are those pairs and a lot of Broadway and suited Broadway type stuff that might wrap around this jack and the eight. But yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
yeah, the donking theory that we've seen in multi-way solves here in Prometheus have kind of blown away what we see in DT Wizard. It's just different. So you nailed this one. Whatever your gut instinct was telling you that we've got some donks, and we do.
Yeah, yeah, that's just a gut thing. And again, I'm with you. I don't really know why, and I just think it has something to do with um, equity denial,
Yeah, and
our
it's weird
range.
though, man, because LoJack has an uncapped range, right? LoJack has queens, kings, aces, which he really did this time. And it's just weird that we have donking into an uncapped range, and it's not based on nut equity. It's just weird to me.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And then how do we react to raises? Maybe solver knows that they're just not going to raise very often, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like right, isn't like in your intuition isn't like the only hand that you would consider donking to be even like closer profitable would be 7-9 with the open-ended and stuff like that, and yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
specific hands in my mind were when we have top pair or tens and nines in particular between the jack and the eight. I don't, none of this is really, or the sevens aren't really going. And then like this stuff that are around the jack and the eight, this kind of range in here is where I was
Yeah, it's just
thinking we'd
weird.
see it.
Mm.
I'm just not buying why. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
And I think it goes back to, I had mentioned this in a call way back a few weeks ago. And I remember hearing this in a Matt Affleck seminar where we take hands in multi-way that we often just either check or we just check a lot heads up, but we're betting a lot with hands like in the middle of our range more often
Yeah,
because we
interesting.
get folds from their, the random stuff that, if they check behind, like say for example here, let's say we have pocket tens, okay? And we bet and they fold king, king queen. or somebody folds king queen off. Like that's a big win for us. And you have two players that have ranges that can fold hands that have equity against us.
Yeah, so then we get into a conversation about MDF and how folding, we have that people have to fold a greater in theory, people have to fold a greater portion of their range multi-way. And then all of a sudden that's why maybe it becomes valuable.
Yeah.
Because in theory, the burden of defense is shared amongst the two players in these three-way multi-way solves.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and I guess you're right. It makes more sense when they can't defend as much as their range when you make these donks.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's part of it. That would actually kind of explain why we're seeing it. But that's
So
pure theory. I don't know if it. And also, that's mathematical theory, which is different than solver theory, right? I mean, sometimes they interact, and that's beautiful, but oftentimes solver does not match up with what the mathematics of theory tells us.
in this hand, they wound up checking. And Larry, we had queens. Let's surmise here. You said, what did you say? You said you're gonna be betting that hand a lot for a small size. What about our range?
Yeah, so we are in alternate position, right?
Yep.
So I think we're going to see more betting than we have previously for the PFR raiser. Because now you got two things going for you. Not only are you the one with the uncapped range with aces, kings, and queens, also you've got position. So I do think we're going to have more betting than what we've seen before.
I agree. Set a line
Okay.
globally.
All right. 55. Because baby, I can't drive 55. God, I just aged myself. 55%.
Oh, that's a good line. I am going to take the of our range, and our range is the low jack range. Gosh, that's a good number, Larry. I'm going to take the under. I bet you're close though.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll take the over.
Oh, the over takes it. 67%.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I just think that I think that having position in solver world is just really incredibly important multi-way. That's the only impression. I mean, someone else can take an alternative view, but I think that's what's
no,
happening here.
no, you're exactly right. There's no alternative view. Position is more important in multi-way.
Yeah, I think you're
Position
right
is
there.
way more important because you have position on two people versus position on one person.
Yeah,
That means more profit.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
then also the board.
multi-way, the more people you have, the more money you make. That's my theory.
Yeah.
All right.
Now you win fewer pots, but who cares? You make more money when you win.
Yep. I bet if the board was like 9 or lower, we wouldn't have as many C bets.
Okay, good job.
Good
They
job.
went fold. So skate. So Larry, I don't know if you wanted to
Yeah.
continue.
Thank you, YouTube. Like and subscribe and never forget our time together.